Welcome back to Tim's Vinyl Confessions, and it is time for another Sammy Hagar deep dive. We are working our way through the catalog. We're up to 2013 now, and we are talking about an album called Sammy Hagar and Friends. And my co-host, once again, is a bo-host. It is Darin from the Bogus Otis Show, 9 Degrees of Sammy Hagar, podcast that you need to listen to. If you're watching this, you're a Sammy Hagar fan, and if you're a Sammy Hagar fan, you need to listen to the Bogus Otis Show, because the man himself has been on the Bogus Otis Show. His family members have been on the Bogus Otis Show. These guys are as they say, the real deal. And we've got one half of the Bo hosts here with us, Mr. Darin. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing great, Tim. Thanks for having me. And like I said, Bo host Brent is here in spirit.
Yeah.
Got some notes.
We could say, he's just out of shot.
That's right.
And he's shy, and tonight he's shy.
I'll refer to him over here as he answers. I got his note. It's funny because we have sometimes we're right on the money together, like one mind, and other times it's like polar opposites. But that's the fun of the podcast, right?
Yeah. No, it's great. I've had the pleasure of being on the podcast. They've been very supportive of my little book here, Red on Black, Listener's Guide to Sammy Hagar, and this deep dive is a part of that. It's going
great
through
book.
each
Great book.
of the albums.
Gotta get it. Awesome.
Thank you so much.
I refer to it quite often, man.
Oh man, see, that's such a compliment, because I've got my favorite books that I'm like, oh, what was that? And I know right where to look it up. So if I can do that for somebody else, that's what
it's cool about. Because as we go through listen to these albums, which we've all listened to thousands and thousands of times, it's cool to refer back to it, because I'm like, hey, what was Tim's take on this? I'm like, oh wow, that's interesting. Or it may your take might actually kind of reframe it for me. Right.
Or maybe like, what is he talking about? This is great. That would be the Living It Up episode.
I was gonna say, when it comes to living it up, I'm like, what's he talking about? Come on, Tim.
And this album, you hit upon a good point, because when you're a kid, like when you're younger, all you've got, you listen to music all the time, like all the time. When you get older, you get a job, you get responsibilities, family, house. I find you buy the new albums as they come out, but you don't always have a chance to give them their due. And so really a lot of the latter-day Sammy albums I had to listen to a lot more than I did the earlier ones. An album like Three Lock Box, I can play in my head without listening to it. I've listened
so true, man.
But some of the later ones I had to be like, well, I remember some of the songs on it, and then you put it on, you go, oh yeah, well, it goes like that. And this would be one of those. I bought it when it first came out. First thing you'll notice, it's got writing all over it, because it's got signatures all over it. And this is just what it sounds like. He's got a ton of guests on here. And I think I mentioned this in my chapter on the album in the book. That gives it the potential to sound like a little bit of a disjointed mess, but it doesn't. I think it sounds like a cohesive album. In spirit, in some ways, it's kind of a sister album to Living It Up, but I think it rocks a little harder. But there are some songs on here that have that kind of, look at the back cover. It's got the palm tree there. And curiously, this is the only album that Sammy did on Frontiers Records, which has become a home for so many artists of his era, like Whitesnake, Night Ranger, and Journey. And you would have thought that once he ended up on that label, okay, well, I'll just stick with these guys. They know what they're doing. But
when you saw that happened, were you excited about that, or were you nervous?
I knew that it would get into stores probably a little easier.
Yeah, me too, because I follow a lot of the bands that ended up on Frontiers, and I'm like, oh, okay, cool. This is great. Now I'm gonna see them more often now. This is great. I was excited, right?
I think it's great what they've done. It's just an Italian label. There's a lot of new bands too, but they've taken seriously, like, a lot of the older bands from, Tesla, Survivor. There's just so many, Loverboy, and sometimes there's multiple albums, sometimes there's just one. But this one's,
I think the way they brought back, I would argue that they maybe brought back Whitesnake in a big way. Frontiers,
I would say so too. I think they revived Night Ranger's career too, because
that's true. Actually, that's where I came back to them, was the Frontiers album.
They started with Somewhere in California, and it was just amazing.
Yeah.
This actually comes, the copy I have comes with the DVD, and the DVD is This is like a making of, isn't it? Or a digipack, or a, or not a digipack,
It's
but
kind of like, yeah, it's kind of like all the behind the scenes and a couple of videos, halfway
yeah.
videos.
I
Yeah.
haven't watched it in years.
Me neither. Me neither.
This is the booklet that came with it, and what I like about the packaging, we'll get into the songs, but I like the packaging. It's like how they have to fill out all of the forms,
Yeah.
who plays on what. So it looks very,
That's our friend Todd Galapo, Meat and Potatoes, who does that's when they started. Well, he's been working on them for a long
yeah.
time, but
I
I
think
love the
this is
packaging on
one of the
this.
better, designs. Like I
Yeah.
really like this one.
Yeah, me too. Sammy
Yeah.
looks great. I love the photo.
Yeah.
Right.
It's got a ton of guest stars on it. I guess as we go through them, we should go through the guest stars because yeah, it is just what it
It's
says.
an interesting roster, right? There's names I would not have guessed would be with Sammy.
Exactly. Now, this first song, Winding Down, was actually it was written by Sammy, and it's got some, it's a blues, and it's got some blues authenticity with Taj Mahal. They trade off a little, some lead vocals. Dave Zerbel on electric guitar, acoustic guitar, dobro. John Cunnybirdie on percussion. He's worked with I
Dash,
think
yeah.
it's Satch.
Yep.
Mona and Vic, of course, from the
Yeah.
Wabos, and he, there's notes at the end of each one. This one says "sitting on a back porch with Taj." So, what do you think of "Winding Down"?
Yeah, I love Taj Mahal. And I think he kind of fits with this kind of I look at Live It Up as the Mexico album. For some reason, this one feels like the Hawaiian album, and I think it could be because it kind of came out at the height of him launching his rum, which was Hawaiian based kind
True.
of rum. So I kind
Yeah,
of got the Hawaiian vibe.
yeah,
And Taj Mahal did a really cool kind of Hawaiian blues album that I love.
yeah.
But it's a strange pairing. But I'm not I think it's a strange opener for someone like Sammy,
It's a
right?
strange title for
Yeah,
an opening
like
song. "Winding
winding
Down."
down, like you're in. No, when I first read that without hearing it, I'm like, no, I don't want to hear about that. Right? I
Yeah,
feel
but
I don't mind it. I don't mind it. It's not like this album. I think Brent and I both would agree. It's not really in our heavy rotation. I have to
no,
be in a specific mood if I want to hear it.
this
Right?
one, I tilted my head a little bit for this. I'm like, that's interesting.
Yeah.
But now the next song, again, "Winding Down." Now we have "Not Going
Not
Down."
going
Now,
down.
now,
Yeah.
what I think is really cool here, this song was written by Jay Buchanan, who is the singer for one of just a handful of new groups that I like, Rival Sons. I think they're
I
fantastic.
love Rival Sons.
And Jay
Yeah.
can peel the paint with his voice. I mean, that guy, I
Yeah.
actually wish this had been a duet with Sammy
Yeah.
and Jay.
I was
I
just
think
gonna
that
say
would
the
have been,
same thing, man.
and I would love to see, like, Sammy go on tour and take Rival Sons with him. Like,
100%. I think that when I read that myself, I'm a huge fan of Rival Sons, and I'm like, this is a
yeah.
missed opportunity.
Yeah. So he wrote the song, but it's essentially, so we've got some familiar faces.
So
We
why
got
did that
Vic.
happen? What do we know why he wasn't like? Well, if you're going to go to the length to have a J. Buchanan song, why would he not be on it with you?
I remember him doing an interview with, I think it was Classic Rock Revisited, where he said he talked about how he liked Rival Sons and how Jay was from the same area, California, that he was.
Right?
And but I don't know any more than that,
That
really.
makes no sense. If anybody knows, I'd love to hear it because I was demanding to know the answer to that because I'm like, I love them, and I'm like, okay, this is all about duets. So why have
Yeah.
this on here if he's not on it?
Yeah, it's interesting, but I mean, he's got some good players. He's got Vic,
Yeah, it's great.
Bill Church, Dave Zerbel again, Denny Carmassi, somebody named Claytoven Richardson on backing vocals, Sandy Griffith on backing vocals, and Omega Ray on backing vocals. And Sammy's notes on this felt like I was back in '72 with Montrose, and I hear that.
Yeah,
I kind of hear that. This
yeah.
sounds, this is gonna rock candy,
There's a
kind
few connections to Montrose on this album, right?
of, which is pretty cool. Now the next one I find is really interesting for a lot of reasons. Now, this one got some press when it came out because it's a fairly well-known cover, and it's not a song you'd expect Sammy to cover, not a band you'd expect Sammy Hagar to cover. But here he is covering Depeche Mode's "Personal Jesus" from Violator. And it's funny because obviously it was something, because it was a few years later that Def Leppard did a cover of this. So it's like,
I remember that. I'm like, what's
yeah.
with this song all of a sudden?
But for Depeche Mode, it was actually a guitar-driven song.
Yeah.
So I get it. Sammy's phrasing is a little bit different on this, but mainly what I think is interesting is the lineup on this. So you've got Sammy Hagar, Neil Sean, Michael Anthony, Chad Smith. If you look at those names, after a while you come to the conclusion this is another version of HSAS.
Yes. And Brent and I said the same thing,
Yeah.
right? Yep.
Which, now that you think about it, Chicken Foot could have been HSAS because
Yep.
HSAS. Yeah. But anyway,
Yep.
it didn't work with Kenny Aronoff because then it would be huzzah. But pure spontaneity is Sammy's, and it sounds like it. It sounds like a jam that got captured.
Yeah. I'm not a big fan of that one because I think the gospel-y background vocals I didn't really like for some
Yeah,
reason. I
he's got
want
the
if he's
same
gonna rock
background
out, I
vocals.
want to hear it rock out. I thought those kind of gospel-y background vocals were a little bit too not for me.
Yeah,
I mean,
you'd
sorry, and I
think,
mean I love
you'd think
gospel. I love gospel.
in the hands of Sammy, yeah, you'd think it would have been down,
Yeah. I
but
don't know if
it's
it's, I don't
kind
know
of,
if they're just a little bit too. I don't know. It could be just that song too. Maybe it doesn't feel like a good fit for me. But I felt like all in all, it just wasn't. That's for me. I skipped that one most of the time.
now the next one I have to think about it because it's called Father Son, and then I get it mixed up with Father Time from a later album.
That's right.
But
That's right.
this is an acoustic based song.
He
Sammy
wrote it
says
with his son,
closure.
right? He wrote it with his son. This one, right?
Just that this one was written by himself. Yeah, it says it's written by himself here. Now let me look ahead because maybe there,
Or did I see them cover this together? I don't know.
maybe they covered it. You mean Aaron?
I believe so. Maybe I saw them
Yeah.
do it live.
There might be another album where he sings background vocals. Aaron sings background vocals,
Okay, that's it. That's what I'm
but
thinking of.
the
He's part of it,
songwriting
right?
credits just says
Yeah.
Sammy.
Okay.
So
All
we
right.
got Vic and Mona on this. Somebody named Andre Thierry on accordion, James DePreto on mandolin, Denny on drums, Aaron on backing vocals, John Cuniberti on backing vocals, and Erica Cuniberti on backing vocals. And Sammy's comments are, "Close your eyes and you're in French Polynesia," which
I
is very
close my
specific.
eyes and I feel like it's the sequel to Rainy Day Women from Living It Up.
Yeah. Well, I get a little bit because he does the sun, sun, sun. I get a little Beatles in there too, but it's definitely
I don't
like
mind it. I don't mind it. It kind of fits the
yeah.
vibe of this album,
I
right?
think it's better than Rainy Day Women. um, now this next one is interesting. I'm always suspect when I see a song that's got a bunch of different writers on it, and this song has 6 writers on it, and Sammy is the last one. That
Okay.
always makes me think this was a song that was
Same
more
here.
or less complete, and he
Yeah.
just put his 2 cents on.
Yeah.
Knockdown, Drag Out, written by Dennis Hill, Ken Livingston, Kyle Homey, uh, Stephen Garvey, Kevin Valdez, and Sammy Hagar. And this one, he's a controversial figure to some, but this is kind of a duet with Kid Rock. I remember this got a little bit of play.
Yeah, I remember
It's a
that too.
rocker, it's a shuffle.
Yep.
It's
Yep.
it's very much. This could have been on, a lot of Sammy albums. It's got that.
Yeah. I feel like when I hear it, I always think I'm listening to Cosmic Universal Fat. I feel like it could have been on that album,
It
no
could have been
problem.
on that album. Yeah, Satch is on
I
here.
don't mind it.
Denny's
It's
on
pretty
here. Yeah, it's
rocking.
good.
It's
It's
rocking,
good.
right? It almost doesn't fit on this album, to be honest.
Relentless and exhausting. And next up is really cool because I think this is a great late '60s sort of garage rock song, and people kind of forget about it because it was a top 20 single, but it's not the type of music this guy's known for. The earliest hit from Bob Seger, "Ramblin' Gamblin' Man," originally from '68. I think they do a great version of this here.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
It's basically
Love
the
me some
Wobbles.
Seeger, and this is a great version of it, right?
Yeah, this is a really killer song. It's basically the Wobos. As a matter of fact, he says the Wobos came through.
Yeah, it's great. I love this
Yeah.
one.
Now
Really
the
good.
next one I remember Sammy being on That Metal Show with Eddie Trunk talking about this song and hyping it up as a classic Sammy Hagar driving anthem. Bad on Fords and Chevrolets, which certainly sounds like that. But I'm going to read what I wrote in my book because I don't think I could say it any better. Um, in the press for this album, Sammy was bragging up Bad on Fords and Chevrolets as a classic Hagar driving song, which sounded encouraging. But wait, Sam, you neglected to mention that the song was co-written by Ronnie Dunn, one half of Brooks and Dunn, who also duets on the song with Sammy. Yeah, it's basically a fast country song with maybe a little more distorted electric guitar. I would have much preferred if this song had gotten the Trans Am or I Can't Drive 55 treatment. And when Dunn's vocals come in on the second verse, I get the strangest urge to boot scoop. I think
I
this
would
could have
agree
been a
with you.
classic Sammy Hagar heavy rocker, and I think it's a lost opportunity. Maybe they could have done 2 versions of it and stuck one at the end. But
I agree. I agree. Totally agree. That would be a great idea. Yeah.
yeah,
Yep.
because I think there's a good. It's just not my style. Um, next up, how predictable can you get? by covering Margaritaville. Like if you're going to cover Jimmy Buffett, at least think outside the box and don't do the one song where everybody knows him. And this is a duet with Toby Keith. So this is really not my
Okay,
thing.
brother. Here's where we diverge again. And
I
look,
know, I
I
know,
love from
I
a man
know.
who collects guitars,
Yeah,
and I got a lot, and I love the rock. I love this one. I think it's
yeah,
fun. And also, I guess does it also depend how much of a parrot head you are? Like
yeah.
I'm also a
I'm not
Buffett.
at all. I mean, I don't. It's fine. I just not for me. But
See, I'm a parrot head too, man. I'm a
yeah.
card
Oh well, there.
carrying
I mean,
parrot head.
then it's perfect.
Yeah, I like it because I'm like,
Yeah,
hey, it's I always as much as I love Buffett, I just think it's just too light. So this version is like, yeah, it's got some grit to the vocals,
that's very
and
true.
I
Yeah,
like it.
yeah. So next up is this is kind of a slow one, but I like it. It's All We Need Is an Island. It's a duet with Nancy Wilson from Heart. And it's funny, I was at one point I was listening to this and I was trying to think what the connection was. And that's when I realized there's something I forgot to put in my book, and I'm embarrassed to say. Sammy co-wrote two songs on Heart's 1990 album Brigade.
That's right.
He co-wrote "The Night" and "Fallen from Grace," both good songs. I believe Denny Carmassi. Of course, there's a connection there because Denny was in Montrose,
That's right.
and then he was with Heart with their big comeback. Their mid to late '80s success. Um, but yeah, I don't know if that's where the connection came from or it was earlier than that. But I like this song.
I like this. So it's funny because Evolved. This one's really mellow,
I
right?
think their voices sound good together.
Yeah, yeah, they do.
It's quite
And
a
so this
contrast, right?
that's probably why I think this album. I always think of Hawaii because the rum. So whenever I fry up one of those rums that he has,
Yeah.
this is the song that I kick it off to.
And the last main song on it is it's a lot of people have covered this song, "Going Down." Another song with "down" in the title. It's a Don Nix song. Jeff Beck Group's done this song. Like it's one of those ones where yeah, if you've got a hard rocking like bar band playing, you can't really go wrong with this song.
Well, I'll use that as a segue because after hearing that, well, I love the Jeff Beck song. But hearing this version, I brought it to the band that I was in, and I said, "Guys, we're doing this, right?
Yeah,
Like this version. We're gonna blow
yeah,
this out of the wall." It's a great if you play guitar and especially in a blues-based bar band, this song is a must-have, and they just smoke it. So me and Brent love this song. It's another kind of HSAS chicken foot.
yeah,
I think they just smoke it. We
yeah.
love it. Brent and I love
It,
this one.
it could have been, it wouldn't have surprised. This could have been something Montrose would jam on.
That's what Brent and I talk about all the time. We
Yeah,
love this version,
it's
right?
fantastic, and it's funny because it's not a song that it's not an overdone standard, but it's been
Yeah,
done enough times that you go, I know this.
yeah.
Who did this originally? And you have to use your brain a little bit.
Yeah, and because it is recorded live, that's what kind of has that HSAS kind of vibe to it too, right?
Yeah, a good point. Um, and there's a bonus track on here. I wish they put the whole thing out, but Space Station Number 5 from the Ronnie Montrose tribute.
Yeah, Brent and I love this one as well.
Yeah,
We love it. Yeah,
and
I
for
think it's a great
me,
ending. The
yeah,
ending to this album is great. We love the end. I like this album as it gets better. It goes
and
along.
for me personally, I think this album is pretty good. I don't listen to it a lot, but it's quite varied. Like
Yeah,
there are some songs that sound like they could have gone on "Living It Up," but then again, like you said, there's some songs that sound like H. So it's kind of here's a little bit of everything. There isn't really anything Van Halen sounding on here, but it's not bad. It's not a bad album. The only thing I wish that they put out that was around this time is they did do that series of tributes to Ronnie Montrose, and as anyone knows, because also wrote a book on them, I'm a huge fan of Y&T. And he brought up Dave
that's right.
Meniketti to
Yeah, that's
play
right.
lead guitar along with Bill Church and Denny Carmassi. And that there's footage of that on YouTube, and it is smoking.
Yeah, you're right.
Um,
No, you're right.
it's
Yeah.
so good. And Dave sings the second verse of Rock Candy, and I'm just like, I wish I could have been at this show.
It's funny. Okay, it's funny you say that because I mean, if you're going to add an extra song to this album with a guest, either a vocalist or a guitarist or something, who would you pick? What would you put? Who do you want to see Sammy with on an album like this? With
I'd love to
much?
hear Sammy and Dave Meniketti do a duet on a song. I think I've always thought they kind of remind me of each other.
Yeah, very
Two of
cool.
my favorite singers ever.
Very cool. Very
So,
cool.
so
I'd
there
like
you
to
go.
see him with I would love to see him with something with David Coverdale. They did that
There's
thing in Vegas together, and they kind of they traded off traded off vocals in Vegas. I think we're both receiving awards or something.
did they do
They're
rock and
two of my
roll?
favorite. Yeah,
Led Zeppelin. Yeah,
yeah, and I think they traded off on that, right? Like I would love to
yeah.
hear those two guys together.
And I'd love to hear them do like a remake of Burn
Yeah. Oh yeah.
and have Sammy do like the Glenn Hughes part.
Yeah, or
I,
something from Come Taste the Band, which
oh
is funny you say that because when I saw that this was on Frontier's record at the time, I was picking up all the Whitesnake that we were
mhm.
releasing on Frontiers. So I thought, well, hey, the chances of David Coverdale maybe being on this album just went up.
Yeah.
Oh no, it's not.
I happen to be a really big fan of that Purple album, the remakes. Some people don't like it. I really like the Whitesnake, the Purple redoing the Purple songs because I'd never heard some of them before, like Coming Home
Yeah.
and Lady Luck, and yeah, good
Oh
stuff.
yeah, they're great. Awesome.
So
Well, if we're
that
gonna
was
go down that route, I say the other person I want to see Sammy with at some point, and Brent and I talk about this, is I would love to hear something with Doug Aldrich and Sammy.
oh, I think that would be a really good fit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, totally. Um, so that's Sammy Hagar and Friends from 2013. Link to my book, Red on Black, Listener's Guide to Sammy Hagar below, and a link to the Bogus Otis podcast. Darin, I want to thank you again for sitting in on this deep dive. This was a lot of fun.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you.
We'll see you all again, and go listen to some Red Rocker.